Welcome to the next episode of Beyond Reps, getting started on your fitness journey. Charlie, how are you?
I am all good, mate. Life is swimmingly busy as always, but I can't complain. So yeah, all good. How are you?
Well, I would say I've been pretty good, which I normally am, but this week's been a bit of a write-off, to be honest. Like we were just discussing off the call. So yeah, I'm injured actually. So I've managed to like pop some sort of like little muscle on the sort of my upper traps, doing a hack squat of all exercises. So yeah, I was literally like going for like 180 for six, which would have been a PB, and probably like rep two. I just felt like a little pop, and then I just felt like my sternum sort of had a little bit of pain in it as well. And then I was like, all right, I'm just gonna fuck it. I'm just gonna finish the set. So I when I finished the set, got my 6 reps, and then I came off, and I was like in actually quite a bit of pain. I haven't been injured for like years and years and years. So, touch wood, this is the only one that I get. But yeah, and I was just like, I was in the gym, just madly overstimulated because I was just caffeinated, had my headphones in, was just trying to pump out as much like sort of music and reps as I possibly could, and just trying to get a good session in. And yeah, I basically had to just run out. So I just couldn't hack it. And then I've listened to my body, and I've just said I'm just going to take a deload. So the rest of this week's all of a deload, which is great. To be fair, probably well overdue. I haven't taken a deload for over 6 months, so quite enjoying the time, enjoying the food. So it's not really the ideal week in the world, but look, we're here, we're ready for the pod, so happy to rip into it.
Not a good place to be, mate. I've definitely been in your position, and yeah, when you encounter those injuries, at least it's not like a serious one, but it's still enough to be like, okay, it's time to deload. You're just getting too strong for your own good. That's all it is.
Yeah, maybe the hack squat journey to 200 kegs isn't on the cards, but we've still got to push up. Got basically like another month left of the bulk, so yeah, we'll see where we go. But it's not really put me down or anything like that. I'm going to use it as a positive coping response, as we're going to come on to, which is a nice little segue I think from myself. So in today's episode, we want to go on to basically supporting you in getting yourself started on your fitness journey. So we want to view this episode through the lens of someone who's getting into training / they're wanting to get consistent with their training, which is often the major challenges that a lot of my clients who come and work with myself, and I'm sure the same for yourself, Charlie. So we've got a load of key points that we want to run through. We're going to kind of bounce off of each other. So one of us will go then the other one, and we'll kind of wrap up towards the end. But hopefully you guys will enjoy the episode. So Charlie, I'll start off with yourself then. So you've got goals to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. So starting off with goals. So obviously if you're getting into your fitness journey, you're going to have an idea of what you want to achieve, like whether that's losing fat, building muscle, improving fitness, whatever that looks like for you. Now, if you're just an average Joe, average Jane going into a gym, you're probably going to be slapped with a SMART goals questionnaire by some run-of-the-mill PT. They don't really know what they're doing. Now, from my perspective, I've actually stolen this from my coach from a seminar that I attended a few months ago. So Paul Standout, if you're listening, shout out to you. But yeah, SMART goals. They're essentially useless. Achievable and realistic are basically the same thing. If you're setting a goal and it's not achievable, then it's not realistic, and vice versa. If it's unrealistic, then it's not achievable. So you can take out the A and the R from the SMART acronym straight away. Essentially, the way I look at it is, if you're trying to lose fat, how much weight have you got to lose, and by when? What gets in the way? And then if you're trying to gain muscle, how much muscle do you want to gain, and by when? What gets in the way? So essentially, have your overarching goal, whether that be fat loss, muscle gain, whatever. What typically gets in the way for you, whether that's late night eating, you can't get into the gym regularly, whatever your obstacle is, and then how to bridge the knowledge gap, whether that's you do your own research, get some education through the likes of podcasts, Beyond Reps, YouTube, blog articles, whatever it is. Or, you could hire a coach. Me and Jason are coaches, so we'll probably have our Instagram in the description below. So if you want some coaching, then by all means, slide on into the Instagram DMs. But yeah, that is the way that we would approach goal setting, from my perspective at least, just to make it more actually realistic and achievable for you, rather than just saying like, be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. What do you want to achieve? What gets in the way? And then how can we bridge that gap? What are your thoughts on goal setting and goals overall, Jason?
So I would say the only thing I'd add to that is the fact that when I set out with clients, I always like to reverse engineer their goals. So, for example, they'll come to me and they'll say that they've got a holiday that they want to they lose some weight for, or they want to build some muscle. So I'm in like a year's time or so. Maybe they've got they're thinking about where do they want their physique to be in like a year's time or 2 years time. So what I kind of set out to them is like, firstly, is that realistic? So is it actually like, is it something that they can actually work towards, and is it something that we can achieve within the time frame they want to achieve? And then yeah, if it is, then we will kind of then start working backwards from that. So for example, this is a bit more technical than probably the average person would kind of know who's just getting started. However, this is where the advantage comes of if you do have a coach, that they can then take your sort of fat loss goals. So say if you want to lose like 10 kilos, we can then break that down to how many kilos is feasible to lose per week, and therefore we can then work on that on like a week by week basis. So you bite size down the overall goal, and then look at like how long it's going to take to achieve that, and then work backwards. So and then that therefore if you work backwards, you'll definitely achieve it, because we've set that deadline that we're working towards, rather than trying to just go, oh, week one, let's just try and lose some weight, oh, week two, let's just try and lose some weight, and you don't really have that clear vision. But actually, you want to know where do you want to be in week one, where do you want to be in week six, where do you want to be in week 12, etc. And that's one of the advantages that having a coach or someone who's more experienced than yourself, even to be fair, like you can go online, you can look at like calorie calculators and things like that, and you can kind of help to kind of bridge that gap. But yeah, that is something that I would always consider is sort of reverse engineering your goals. Where do you want to be? What does that look like? And then consider the how are you going to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I typically don't take that approach because you work with a different demographic than I do. So with mine, it's kind of just getting them in the gym, getting them exercising, getting them aware of their nutrition. And then once we start seeing progress, we're like, okay, we're getting some momentum now. Now we can have some consistency with weight loss or muscle gain maintaining. I do have some clients that are just like maintaining and measurements are still going down, but weight staying the same. So, we'll get on to different ways you can track your progress shortly, but there is different ways you can take, but that's where having a coach comes in, and it can definitely benefit you in the long run.
The next point I want to go on to is finding a gym. Really, really basic point, but I think you're never going to actually succeed on your fitness journey if your gym is 45 minutes away, there's loads of traffic, it's really busy, and you can't afford the membership. So, it sounds very, very basic because it is. However, if we don't get this right, then you're never going to start the journey to begin with, and you're certainly not going to stick to it if you do. So, first thing to consider is your budget. So, simply like if a gym is more expensive, you cannot afford it, therefore you're not going to go. So you need to have a look at gyms online, gyms in the area. Most gyms will advertise their budget, or you can call them up and figure out their monthly prices. I would say there's plenty of affordable gyms, certainly within the UK scene, which would be like the Gym Group, Pure Gym, and like Anytime Fitness. Those sorts of 24-hour gyms, very easily accessible, very cheap and affordable. Some of the memberships are like down to £16 a month, maybe certainly less than £20 a month. There is compromises with that though, I would say. So those gyms are typically much busier and have less equipment than sort of independent specialised gyms. So, but they're a great way to start. So I would definitely say if you want to start, potentially look at those gyms if there's one in your area. And then make sure that obviously is within a traveling distance for yourself. So does it take like less than, I'd say, 20 minutes really to get to? Is it on the way back from your commute? We need to kind of take into account these considerations when picking a gym. Then we also need to think about the equipment that gym actually has on offer, because there are some gyms out there which are literally just like 5 treadmills and dumbbells up to 10 kg, and that is just not going to be an adequate amount of equipment for you to achieve any sort of fitness goal. Like, it's just not going to be good enough. It might be good for like maybe some grannies who are just trying to move a little bit of weight and they're like in their 80s just trying to do a tiny bit of resistance training. But if you're serious about trying to move forward your fitness goals, you need to find yourself a serious gym which has got some serious equipment in it. So you definitely want to consider the equipment. I wouldn't say it needs to be too complex. I'd just say it needs to have a good array of machines, both for sort of like leg, back, chest, or cover all body parts of machines. Have dumbbells probably up to at least 30 kilos, if not 40 kilos, and have some sort of cardio equipment potentially in there as well. That's kind of like the minimum basics, just so then you can get a good session in and follow a decent training program. You also need to consider, like, if you have got friends that are already training there. Often with gyms, you can get like a bring a friend sort of like once a month membership, or something like that. So maybe you can go with someone, and they can kind of take you around the gym, because that can be quite daunting. Because if you're turning up to a new gym for the first time, and you're unfamiliar with the layout of the gym, then you're like, oh, where does it go? And you'll feel quite self-conscious. People will be looking at you. You'll be like, oh, what's going on here, kind of thing. So it's good if you can find someone who trains at that gym already that you're thinking about going to, and then you can kind of get them to show you around. And then really, ultimately, you just need to get in there. So once you found the gym, just get in there, give it a go, see how you feel in the session. How's the atmosphere in the gym? Is it somewhere where you can work out? Is it, how busy is it? Try the machines, figure out how they work. So, it's something that you can look at on YouTube. There's plenty of tutorials on YouTube about how to see any sort of to use any machine. There's plenty of tutorials about showing some basic movements, and then just kind of like get into some sort of like exercise actually in the gym. So like, just start doing squats, overhead presses, some dumbbell rows, some push exercises, and just get yourself moving, get yourself familiar with the layout of the gym, and then make sure you're happy with it. Because then once you've decided on that gym, then you want to be able to commit to that, and you need to box off all these areas first. Charlie, anything you want to add to that?
No, I feel like you've covered quite a lot there. I feel like, that's really relatable for me because I started in a pure gym. The first 4 to 5 years of my training journey was in a pure gym, and I feel like I've got a relatively respectable physique, so it absolutely works. And all going to the gym is, and physique development, it's just applying resistance to your muscles. You can do that with a set of dumbbells, you can do that with body weight. Now ultimately you will reach a point where you need better equipment, and just from like a training enjoyment standpoint, like from myself, I have 2 gym memberships because obviously going through photo shoot prep, my main gym is half an hour away, so that is an obstacle for me. If I've got a busy day, if there's a lot of traffic, it's going to make the whole gym experience like a 3 hour thing. But that's a risk I'm willing to take because I know training enjoyment is more important for me. But I do have a gym close to home, which is like 5-10 minutes away. It's just the equipment's very basic. It's got enough in there, like dumbbells up to 40 kilos and everything I could need to put a good session together. But it's just full of lots of old people, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but the atmosphere's not there. The equipment isn't really enjoyable, and I like to challenge myself with different pieces of equipment and more weight essentially. So yeah, I do travel further, but that's because I'm now a good few years into my training journey. So stay in your lane essentially. Don't feel like you have to go straight into like a bodybuilding gym. You don't have to go into a Gold's gym, anything like that. Just very basic, cheap, affordable, and in a good location, and you should be absolutely fine.
Excellent. Charlie, do you want to do the training plan?
Absolutely. So once you've actually got into the gym, you've highlighted your goals, you've found a gym that works for you, you're actually happy with getting in there. A lot of people think they need the training plan first and then find a gym, but we prefer to go the other way around. Get in the gym, see if you actually enjoy it, and then find a training program. You can find loads for free online. You could probably follow some random influencer and they've got a freebie they're giving out. That can give you some structure and some guidance. Again, that's where coaching comes in because they will create a program that's specific to you with your injury history, your needs, what you actually want to achieve, if there's any part of your physique you want to develop. But find a training program, one that works for you. So in terms of what that could look like, is it realistic from a time commitment perspective? If you can only go to the gym 3 days a week, but you've got a 5 day training program, that's probably not going to work. So you could have like 2 full body sessions a week. You could have 3 full body sessions a week, or an upper lower full body. You could have a 4 session plan, which is upper lower upper lower. You could have a 5 session plan, which is upper lower push pull legs. You could have a 6 day plan, which is push pull legs. Whatever that looks like for you, as long as it's realistic and you can actually go to the gym for that duration, then that's absolutely fine. Both Jason and I have done push pull legs, and that's probably very early on in our training career, and it works. But going to the gym 6 days a week does take its toll, and it might not be realistic long term, but you can see a lot of progress in a short space of time. I'm currently on a 4 day training split. I think Jason's on 4 or 5 days. So yeah, definitely scale back the amount of time that you spend in the gym, the more experienced you become, because ultimately it just gets to a point where it's just junk volume. You're probably not performing as best as you can, and you can definitely do other things outside the gym. Then is the training program itself goal specific? So that kind of links back to the physique development aspect that I mentioned. So is it achievable in relation to what you want to actually achieve. So let's say you want to lose some fat, not that there's any fat burning exercises, but is it something that's going to elevate your heart rate? Is it going to get you moving? Is there some cardio planned into your sessions? And if you want to build some muscle, is there exercises in there that are actually going to do that? If you're just doing burpees and box jumps and things like that, that's probably not going to help you build muscle. Whereas if you're actually applying resistance to those muscles and pushing yourself close to failure, that's probably more in line with that muscle building goal. Then also, does it work with your life and your routine? So similar to those time commitment elements. So if you've got kids, you work a 9 to 5, you're a single parent, whatever that is, you might not be able to go to the gym as much as you want to, but that's where having a training program specific to you comes in. So that's going to be structured around you, your life, your overall weekly routine. And there will be some weeks you can't go to the gym for every single session, but it's the combination or the culmination of your actions previously that's going to get you the results. So if you've been going to the gym 3-4 times a week consistently, missing 1 to 2 sessions here and there isn't going to be an issue, but that's where some adaptations can come in. So I've had clients that have started on 4 days a week. Some weeks they've been able to go 5. Some weeks they've only been able to go 2. So having someone in your corner to kind of guide you and advise you what's best to do is probably quite useful for a lot of people. And then like training styles. So what training styles do you actually enjoy? Is it CrossFit? Is it something high intensity? Is it like a Tabata style training plan that you want? Whatever that looks like. Obviously, you might not know what any of that is, but that's where you can do a bit of research. You can try different things. And just because you've found one training plan doesn't mean you can't then switch to something else if you don't enjoy it. Like I've had multiple different training plans. I've got tons saved to my laptop and I've looked at them. They're pretty shit. I didn't want to do them. But if you find something that you enjoy and you can stick to, that's the main thing overall. So consider all of those factors and yeah, just get stuck in, do the training program, and you will make some progress. Anything else to add on that, Jason?
I would say, like in my opinion, one of the biggest benefits that you haven't already covered there of a training program is the confidence that it gives people going into the gym. Like I think, especially getting started, like that's one of the big barriers is the lack of knowledge or the confusion about, well, what should I do? Okay, I can turn up here. I know where the gym is. I can afford it. But then when I'm here, what do I actually need to do? So I think that's something that I certainly find, like, I can get feedback from my clients is that the structured plans that they go away with when they're working with myself, they actually they have the confidence now to walk into the weights room. While previously the weights area was a big scary area where like big smelly guys used to work out and they used to sweat everywhere, and it was really intimidating for people to go there. However, when they know what exercises they need to do, and that gives them the confidence then to go into that section and just start working through those exercises. And it also, like, it prevents the confusion. I kind of touched on it earlier, but when you go into the gym, it's like, well, what should I train today? Oh, well, is that the best thing to train today, or actually should I train something else? Well, actually, if you have a training program and it's well thought through, then you can just turn up, just basically strap into the program and just get cracking. Like it's that straightforward and that simple. So it takes out all that sort of guesswork as well. So yeah, it just makes things a lot clearer for yourselves getting started.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I actually heard it the other day. I was in the changing rooms in the gym, and there was a group of young lads, like 16, 17 maybe, and I just overheard their conversation. They were like, "Oh, what are you training today?" And they didn't really know. They were just like, "Oh, I might do some arms or I might do some back." And that's where having a training plan can come in. It gives you that guidance, it gives you that structure, and it gives you the confidence. I get it a lot from clients. They're like, "Oh, is the training plan going to change this week?" It's like, no, it doesn't need to. Unless there's something wrong with it, keep it the same, because then you're going to get used to those movements, used to those exercises. You know where the equipment is, you're going to know what the weight you're lifting is, and then you can just rinse and repeat that until you either stop making progress or you get injured, you don't enjoy something, and that's when you can start changing it up.
Completely agree. So tracking your progress then. So this is probably the one which I find starts off and it's probably the most frustrating slash is a real barrier, and people kind of question, well, where's the return on investment in this? However, it's kind of like compounding interest. Like the longer you let it run and the earlier you start it, the more benefit and the more momentum you can build from it. So you know, in terms of tracking your progress, there's so many things that you can track with the gym. So you can track your body weight, you can track like your progress pictures, you can log your sessions on training apps like OneFit or Rep Count. You can even measure like your waist or like measure yourself in clothes. You can like take down your energy levels. How did you feel like in week one of your training versus week six of your training? Do you feel like your energy levels are increasing? You can measure your sleep quality. Like there's so many different ways that you can track your progress. Some of the ones that work really well for me and have done over time is like tracking your training sessions. That's probably the one that I find really motivational, because when you start to look back and you're like, oh my god, like this was a weight that I used to really struggle on, and now actually I'm warming up on that weight. And then you can see, and some of the apps like Rep Count can give you a really like detailed sort of graph that shows you your progress over time. So then you can see, wow, like actually I've made so much progress, because it's quite hard in the moment to actually think like, oh, am I making progress? Am I heading in the right way? And you need to have some sort of like objective measure in there to kind of give yourself clarity that actually I am on the right track. And equally, like if you're not on the right track but you're not measuring it, then you're not going to know. So if you are measuring it and then you realize, oh, I'm not on the right track, then you can make some adjustments, and then you can come back and try again, and then see where you get to in like the next sort of 6 months, and then see it, or 6 weeks or so, and then you can see if you're on track then. So, but you won't know if you're on track unless you're measuring your progress. So it is something that takes a little bit of time to get started, but it's just like an unstoppable flywheel. Once it starts going, you will definitely reflect on it, and it's something that you'll really thank yourself for investing the time into getting yourself tracking from day one, if possible. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. Even like even now, like with our training sessions, so I'm currently going through a photo shoot prep, and previously training had got a bit monotonous. I wasn't really enjoying it, so my training lifts, like everything that I was performing in the gym, they started to come down. But now that I'm training consistently and I'm enjoying it and I have that goal, if we link back to that goal setting section, I have direction, I have purpose, and now week on week I'm actually seeing progress with either the weight that I'm lifting or the reps that I'm performing, or my techniques getting better. So, there's so many different ways that you can track your progress, and that's something that Paddy and I do with our clients. We track so many different metrics just because a lot of people rely solely on the scale, but then when it's not coming down, they're like, oh, I'm failing, what's the point? There's no point continuing. But then if you've got measurements changing, your pictures look different. One thing that I hit home with a lot of female clients in particular, your scale weight might not be changing, but if your pictures are changing, that's essentially what you're looking for. Because the scale weight if the scale weight was to drop, but your visual image didn't change, like you looked exactly the same but 10 kilos different, you probably wouldn't be happy with that. So if visually you're changing but the scales aren't, then that's a big win. Alongside everything else, clothes, energy levels, sleep quality, digestion, all that good stuff. So don't overwhelm yourself, which again we'll get onto shortly, but just try to find different things that you can keep track of over time. And then that kind of brings us on to like the social support element. So some people nowadays do track their progress on social media. So this can either be a private Instagram account where you just upload your weekly progress, training videos, whatever it is, but also you can use it to find your tribe essentially. And this is something that me and Jason have discussed quite a lot in terms of, find content that you like to consume, find people that you think have a similar mindset to you, because ultimately they're going to help you in your journey. Not necessarily directly, but potentially seeing their personal progress or seeing things that they post on social media that can motivate you to continue. That's really useful alongside documenting your progress. And then one thing that's really useful for some people, not necessarily for everyone, this was useful for me when I started, but now it's less so because I like training alone, but an accountability partner, so a coach or a friend. If you've got a coach, then that's really useful because you have to check in with them every day. Every other day, you're going to have a weekly check-in with them to kind of update your progress. If you're training with a friend, then they're relying on you to go with them for their training session, so that can kind of subconsciously make you think, oh, I can't miss this session because so and so is relying on me. So that's really useful, but it doesn't work for everyone. But if you've got a coach, then that's one way to kind of get around that training with someone. And then also family. So some people aren't supportive because it's that kind of tall poppy syndrome. They want to keep you within the confines of your group essentially, and when you start breaking out of that group, that's when it's a problem. So some people can be really supportive, some families can't be really supportive, but if you've got a supportive family and you say like, I want to lose weight, I want to build some muscle, I want to prepare for this photo shoot, I want to get into bodybuilding, whatever it is, as long as they're supportive, absolutely share that. But if they're not, then link back to that finding your tribe, find people in your gym. The gym is probably somewhere where you're going to find your tribe more than anywhere else, because there's people in there trying to develop themselves, trying to make progress just like you are. And my biggest experience from the gym is most people are really friendly. Like, you're going to have some people in there that are really miserable and don't really crack a smile, but then when you find some people that are happy and are happy to talk. I had a conversation the other day for 30 minutes with someone in the gym, and I was just there like, I actually need to train now. So yeah, if you can find people to support you, then that definitely makes your journey a lot easier. What are your thoughts on that, Jason, in terms of like, have you had any support in the past, or your support for your clients going forward?
I'll definitely echo the point around the people in the gym can be really friendly. I would also like caveat and say like I am friendly in the gym. I just probably don't look very friendly to anyone that's sort of seen me train, because I do tend to like have my headphones in, like hat on, like hoodie, and just kind of like want to kind of crack on. But yeah, once you get talking to me, trust me, I am friendly, and I do want to see people do their best. And yes, I definitely think you can find your tribe in the gym. I'd also just, I think I just need to revisit the point about the lack of social support from some groups. And obviously, you can't pick your family, but if you've got friends that are really actually like trying to pull you down and like judge you for going to the gym, they just shouldn't be your friends like long term. I think it's a bit of a hard sort of decision to come by, but I think you need to evaluate your friendships and think, are these people help promoting you to become the best version of yourself? And it goes beyond the gym as well. Like if they're not promoting or wanting to promote you to to achieve your dreams, to do something you're passionate about, then really you got to kind of expand that over years and into the future. Then do you need those people around? And you can always find more people, especially in social media. There's always lots of people online communities, and then sometimes you can go to meetups and see those people in person. But yeah, just don't put up with having a tribe that isn't supportive of you. Make a stand and put your progress first. That is the most important thing.
Yeah, one.
We'll go on to the motivation illusion then. So the motivation illusion. So I think the why we've referred to it as the illusion is because people think people who go to the gym are really motivated, and the secret is it's not about motivation at all. It's just about routine and building a routine that works for you. So and it's about building habits. That's the key area from it really. So for example, I've been going to training for 11, 12 years nearly now, and am I motivated for every single session? No. However, I've got myself into a place where my gym sessions are my habit. So that's something that I stick to regardless of whatever happens. So there's a really good book that I'd recommend from James Clear, which is called Atomic Habits. It's been out for years, but it's got some really, really good points in there about how to build effective habits for you to then stick to. So the book's all about building routines which maximize positive behavior change and minimize negative behavior change. So he's got 4 rules in there that he refers to. So number 1 is make it obvious. Number 2 is make it attractive. Number 3 is make it easy. And number 4 is make it satisfying. And this is something that we can really go ahead and apply to the gym. So I'll just break it down for us. So number 1 then, make it obvious. So examples of how you can make it obvious is by setting out your gym clothing by the night before, or getting your trainers ready. And then this links to point number 3 about making it easier as well. So that's 2 birds with 1 stone by prepping your gym clothes the night before, because they're out in front of you. It's really obvious to see. It's going to give you a reminder that you want to go. Another thing you can do is you can set reminders on your phone, and you can block out time when you're going to go to the gym. So even if like you've got a busy day or something's going on, you're going to have a little notification that comes up on your phone that says get ready to go to the gym, or push A, or pull A, or leg session, and that a little reminder then. So that just something that you can set up, and you can set that to repeat every single week if you're on a pretty routine schedule there in your calendar. It takes 5 minutes to set up, and that can really give yourself that little nudge just to make sure that you go to the gym and that you're aware that you need to go to the gym on that day. So number two, then make it attractive. So I would link this to finding a training style or approach, or choosing exercises that you enjoy. So there's no point you going, oh yeah, I absolutely hate CrossFit, so I'm going to go follow a CrossFit training program. You're just never going to stick at it. Like, if you, even how committed I am to the gym, if someone was like, oh, I want you to do CrossFit for the next 12 weeks, and here's a CrossFit training program, I wouldn't do it because I just don't like it. I can't do burpees. I don't. It's just the worst thing in the world. But if you gave me like a bodybuilding program, then I would 100% stick to it. That's what I'm passionate about: physique development. And yeah, so it needs to be attractive to you, so specific to you. And then once you've focused on choosing exercises, choosing a training style which you enjoy, you can then branch out to some slightly more challenging exercises if you need to. Those which will develop your physique. So you don't necessarily need to all keep it within your comfort zone, but I would certainly start off by keeping it in your comfort zone. So the third point then is make it easy. So again, we've already covered this really. So examples of how you can make it easy for you to get started into the gym is choosing a gym which is close to you. Picking a friend who loves going to the gym, because they're never going to miss a session, so they'll make you come. So there's another reason why it'll make it easier for you. So, and then you want to just focus on the really basic measures of just turning up to the gym. So that's a really easy goal. So if you just go, today, all I want to do is I just want to turn up to the gym. So once you're in there, once you're in that front door, once you've gone through the gates and you've signed in or whatever you need to do, you're going to do something. You're not just going to abandon the rest of the session there. You're going to carry on. You're going to make some sort of progress there, and by adding that up, that's going to start to build momentum, which is what this is all about. And then the last one then, so make it satisfying. So this links to the previous one we talked about in terms of tracking your workouts and taking progress pictures. So you want to make sure that you're watching your progress over the next coming weeks and months, because that'll be a huge source of motivation, like we've already covered. I think that's some really important measures there to go over. Anything you want to add to that, Charlie?
No, I feel like there's a lot of detail there. If you haven't read Atomic Habits, then absolutely do so. It can be quite hard to relate it to your current situation, but Jason's just done a really good job of like summarizing all the points and how that could relate to you getting started. So yeah, absolutely just get stuck in. One thing I do want to refer back to is the motivation illusion. Like, as Jason said, a lot of people think you need motivation to do something. But the way I say to clients, you're not always going to be motivated to do something. Action precedes motivation, so you need to do something and see the results from that to then get motivation. Like, for example, if you want to lose weight and you start tracking your meals or going to the gym, doing some form of exercise, and you see that scale weight moving down, that's going to motivate you to continue. Whereas if you're just like, oh, I want to do something, but I'm just not motivated enough, and it's really hard, then you're not going to get anywhere. You need to accept that you're not going to be motivated and just build a routine that works for you. And that kind of ties into the next point, is like being aware of your time frame. If you're aware of how long it's going to take you to achieve something, then you're just going to crack on. 90% of the time, you're actually going to do the thing because you know it's not going to happen overnight. So as an example, if you've got 20 kilos to lose, it's not going to happen in a 6-week fat loss challenge. It's just not realistic. And then likewise, if you want to gain 10 kilos of muscle, that's going to take a long time. The muscle Jason and I have built has taken years to put on. I'm not saying, we've hit our limit, we're not going to build any more muscle, but it's definitely taking longer the more that we do it. So be prepared for it to take longer than you want it to, if you're doing it naturally. If you're unassisted, which we wouldn't recommend anyone does, but if you do, then make sure you get the right guidance. But it's going to take longer than you think it is, and knowing that, like, I'm aware I've got 14 weeks left of my photo shoot prep. That deadline alone is motivating me to continue. Yes, I've had thoughts of like wanting to eat X, Y, and Z food, but I haven't, because I know I've got this goal coming up, so that's motivating me to continue.
I think the only thing that I'd add to that as well is you've kind of started to alluded to it there, is about extrinsic goals versus intrinsic goals. So you've obviously touched there in terms of your prep that you're working towards at the minute, and obviously I've been on prep twice for 2 shows, so I can definitely vouch for the fact that was the most dedicated and motivated I've ever been, because I had an external deadline where I was going to step on stage in front of a huge crowd of people at one of the biggest natural bodybuilding shows in the UK for the first time I've ever done it, and I just didn't want to make a tit of myself, to be honest. So I didn't want to show up and not be like lean enough and regret making I don't know, the choice to have like a dessert or something like that. So that was having been someone who typically is very intrinsically motivated and just loves the process of going in, training, building your physique over time, seeing your numbers improve in the gym. To actually have an external goal was really beneficial as well. So and you can create your own external goals, whether it's a holiday, whether it's a wedding, anything that you can think of. You can set that as an external goal and think, well, when you're going to make that decision about should I have the takeaway food or should I go for some sort of healthy protein based sort of meal, then actually like, well, what would I regret doing? So actually, when I achieve that goal, do I really want to make sure that I achieve it 100%, or do I want to let myself down with that as well? So yeah, I think that's really important to consider as well, the benefit of having an extrinsic goal. I certainly don't think like you should have an extrinsic goal all the time, because I think ultimately what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get you into the gym and get you into building a fitness as like your identity and as part of your lifestyle. However, it definitely can come to a benefit, especially if you're in like a fat loss phase or going to try and do something that's really challenging and you don't want to do. It's definitely worth something to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I've had the intrinsic goals for years, but I noticed that was kind of fading and my love for training kind of was disappearing. So I've now got that external goal, and then once that goal has passed, that intrinsic reward essentially is probably going to come back. So definitely flip between the two, but don't rely on one solely.
So I think it's really important that we discuss now, like the inevitability that you are going to have setbacks, you are going to have failures. Doesn't matter if you follow all the tips that we've laid out earlier in this conversation. It's going to happen. You're going to miss a session. You might get injured, like I am at the minute. You might fall off. You might fall off the routine. You might miss a session. So really, you need to understand about how to deal with these setbacks and these failures. And you need to focus on getting back on track as soon as you possibly can. So when you do have a mess up or something goes wrong, you just need to compartmentalize that failure and realize that is an isolated event, and it doesn't take away or detract from your overall goal. So something that I kind of think about is about positive coping responses versus negative coping responses. So this is something that I actually picked up during my university degree at the University of Bath, doing sport and exercise science. So we had like a psychology module. And basically, the theory talks you through like different ways that people can perceive certain events which could potentially set them back away from their goal. So, for example, if you have a negative coping mechanism, then you might end up having like maybe like a cheat meal on like a Saturday, and it's just like one cheat meal. It's it's agreed by your coach. It's fine because you're on track for your calories. You're going to use it to have a bit extra food and use that as fuel for your session. So it's all above board. It's all agreed. You go have your Domino's, and then you think, oh, I've had a Domino's. Well, why don't I actually have some ice cream with that, or why don't I have the cookies? And then actually, well, I've messed up my diet on Saturday. So now, why does it matter on Sunday? Like, let's just throw it in and then lose the whole weekend. And then you lose the weekend, and then suddenly you're into next week, and then you're like, well, I'm behind where I should be. Oh, I just hit the fuck it button, and then you completely give up. And that would be an example of like a negative coping response, because you think, oh, what's the point? And therefore, you sort of throw in the towel. However, I'm fortunate enough, I would say, certainly with the gym, that I have a very positive coping mechanism. It's something that it takes time to develop. But so, for example, obviously I've discussed earlier on the pod that I'm currently have a small trap injury at the minute. So actually, like, I'm so motivated to get into the gym. Like, I actually cannot wait to Monday rolls around and my deload's over and I'm just ready to train. Something that I'm actually really looking forward to. And also, like, if I go out drinking maybe every 6 weeks or so and have like a few drinks and maybe stay out a bit later. But I'll notice that affects me in my gym session probably the first maybe 2 sessions back, and then I'm like, oh, I just need to get back on it 100%, get my sleep right, get my training right, and really start focusing on that. So it is something that it's really the ultimate goal that you want to work towards, is trying to build a positive coping mechanism when you're dealing with these failures, because that is ultimately something which will always keep you on track. If you don't have a positive coping mechanism, then you're ultimately going to fall off track at some point, and you're going to then go in a downward spiral rather than getting straight back on where you need to be. Charlie, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, that was a really good point. We've all had failures, we've all had setbacks, but it's how you respond to that matters most. Like Jason said, you could dive face first into the Domino's, be balls deep in a tub of Ben & Jerry's, and then before you know it, you're 5,000 calories deep, and what can you do? but then can the next day be better? Can you get some more protein in the next day? You don't have to ruin a whole weekend just because someone's offered you a slice of Domino's and that's turned into a large pizza, garlic bread, cookies, and a Ben and Jerry's. So yeah, definitely try to find better ways to cope with it. And even if you have failed, like from my past experience, failure is success. You're growing from your failures. You've always failed at something. Like even when you were a baby trying to walk for the first time, you fell over multiple times, but that then led you to walking eventually. You're not starting again, you're starting from experience. So everything that you've done up to that point has helped you and guided you to learn that entire process. So you know what's caused you to fail. You can now implement different ways going forward. And I kind of compare it to my lower back injury years ago. I injured my back deadlifting, very shit technique, lifted too heavy. Wasn't a good time, but I ended up literally being not fully paralyzed, but it was a struggle to walk, it was a struggle to get out of bed and shower, and it just wasn't fun. And I used the gym as kind of a positive coping mechanism because I knew that doing that would strengthen my lower back, it would strengthen my core, it would strengthen all the muscles around the problem area, and my lower back's now 85% better. It does flare up sometimes, but for the most part, it is okay. I could have just used that as an excuse and a negative coping mechanism to say, like, what's the point? I've injured my back. I might as well just get fat and eat everything in sight. So definitely try to reframe your mindset and think how you deal with those problems. And then that kind of brings us on to the next topic of nutrition. So we're probably going to do a full episode of nutrition because there's so much to take in. Like there's so much information out there, and as we discussed on previous episodes, there's so many charlatans that are peddling their way of doing things, their glucose monitoring, their fasting, whatever it is. There's always someone telling you to do something different. The way I go about it with current clients is just track what you're currently eating. So for 1 to 2 weeks, track what you're eating Monday to Sunday. The weekends count, calories do count on the weekends, and then just see where you're currently at. If you're eating 3,000 calories, then if that works for you and you're maintaining your weight, great. If you're gaining weight or if it's not working, then there's maybe a sign that things need to be changed. But don't change everything that you're currently eating, otherwise you're not going to stick to it. I get it all the time, like, have you got any recipes that I can use? Have you got any fat loss recipes? Fat loss recipes don't exist. It's just recipes that are generally lower calorie, and the way I would say it to anyone really is look at what you're currently eating from that tracking and then make some swaps for low calorie alternatives. So can you swap olive oil for 1 cal spray? Can you swap pork sausages for chicken sausages? Can you swap 20% fat beef mince for 5%? Making these swaps is going to make the whole process easier because the meals that you're currently eating, you know how to cook them, you know the ingredients that go into them, and there's little resistance to that. Whereas if you're trying to do a different recipe every single night, you're probably not going to stick to it because you've only got so much brain power and you make so many decisions on a day-to-day basis. So when it comes to cooking your evening meal, you're probably going to be spent for your decisions for that day. Decision fatigue is a real thing, and you are going to be fatigued by 6 p.m. at night. So look at what you're currently eating. Try to implement a bit more protein and veg into those meals. Make some swaps for low-calorie alternatives. That's going to make your life a lot easier. Any additions to that, Jason?
I would just reiterate the point about don't overwhelm yourself at the start. So just start smaller with all of this topics that we've covered now. Just start at the micro level. What's the easiest decision that you can do? So rather than going in and trying to change your whole diet, that's quite a massive disruption to your current routine. Let's just focus on like signing up to the gym. That might take you 5 minutes of googling, searching online, signing up. Boom. That's your first step. That's on that journey, and then you can then focus on, okay, what's the next one? Okay, turn up to the gym. Okay, now I've turned up to the gym. Brilliant. Okay, what's the next one? Okay, maybe it's follow a training program. Okay, well now I've got myself a training program, and then it's about building these steps on top of each other rather than going out there and just trying to do everything hell for leather. Because I've worked with many clients before, and they they're like, yeah, we want to get the results as quickly as I possibly can, and I'm like, okay, so you want to go straight into tracking macros using MyFitnessPal, even though you've never used it before, signing up to a gym, following a training program, even though you've never actually been to the gym before, and like inevitably they'll come back in their first check-in and they'll be like, yeah, not a great week, didn't train, didn't track any food, bit of a disaster, I need some motivation, help. And I have to turn around and go to them and then be like, let's break it down one step at a time. Focus on getting your gym sessions in first. Then we can start thinking about tracking food, etc. So yeah, just take it steady. You've got plenty of time to get into fitness. You've got hopefully this is a lifelong habit that you're building here, and it's not just get to the end goal of having a six pack or looking a bit leaner for a wedding. Actually, this is something that we want to build for life. So we've got plenty of time to just take it steady and build up. Kind of links to the last point that we've got on here, which is aiming to be 1% better every single day. So this is quite a well-known, I guess, philosophy when it comes approach to life, I guess, or to training or to business or anything. It's just aiming for that 1% improvement. So it links to what we discussed earlier about tracking your progress as well. So for example, you can improve 1% in the gym by getting an extra rep, by improving your form, by maybe doing like a few more minutes of cardio, by eating less processed food, by having a slightly longer gym session. So there's so many different ways that you can win at the gym. You just have to recognize each little individual win and really celebrate that. Like whether it's a social media post, whether it's telling your parents, whether it's telling your best friend, whether it's taking a screenshot of it, however you need to do it, just celebrate those little wins, and then that's what's going to build your momentum. And what we're really after here is we're looking for you to have a lot of momentum behind you, so then you can go ahead and smash that fitness journey and then build that healthy habit and stick to it. Because the ultimate goal really with this is we want to take you from a place where you're not exercising, you're on the sofa, you've never been to the gym, you're unconfident, you don't really know what your goals are, etc. To then hopefully, now we've gone through this podcast and we're going to follow these methods. The end goal needs to be for yourself to become an exercise, or someone who identifies as someone as like a fitness is part of their life. So like for example, I would identify as someone who goes to the gym. So therefore that's part of my identity. So when something happens that challenges that, i.e. I have a setback, or so maybe something doesn't go right, but because it's part of my identity, I immediately get back on track. So it links back to how you deal with setbacks. But that needs to be the ultimate goal, is that you see fitness as a core part of your character, and that is how you will get to like a long-lasting goal basically. And that's how you in terms of your routine and your achievements, like that's what you want to get to, is build that identity around fitness. Anything you want to add there, Charlie?
Yeah. Yeah, 1% better is literally what I say to everyone. Like, just because you can't do everything, can you do something? Can you get some more protein in? Can you eat some more veg? Can you get another training session in? Can you push yourself for that extra rep? Can you lift a little bit more? Just whatever you can celebrate to build that momentum is the best thing in the long run. I'm just going to come back to what you said previously about time. Like, this is a lifestyle change. You have time. This isn't a 6 to 8 week transformation. This isn't going to change your entire life in that time frame. But if you commit to it for 6, 12, 18 months and onwards, you're actually going to see progress. Whereas if you're looking for that quick change, you're probably going to be disappointed. So be aware that you've got time, and like I referred back to earlier, like be aware of your time frame, stick to it. You're going to enjoy it for the long run, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and you get every day you get the opportunity to make a choice without going too motivational to like Greg Plitt or anything. And if anyone knows who Greg Plitt is, I'll be really impressed. Then every day when you wake up, like if things don't go right that day, okay, it wasn't a great day. Start again tomorrow. And then just start again tomorrow, and it's just about getting those micro wins and building that momentum. That's kind of what it really comes down to. So I guess in summary, there's a lot of things that we've thrown at you there. So hopefully you found a lot of value in this podcast. And actually if you are struggling to get started, then please reach out to us on sort of social media. I think I'm happy to wrap it up there, Charlie, if there's anything else you want to add.
And that was a solid episode. Hopefully everyone got some value from it. But if you are struggling, then by all means just reach out. Instagram is in the description, or it will be. And yeah, we are open for any questions, so fire away.
Peace. See you later, guys. Thanks for listening.